Good evening, everyone. If you'd like to take a seat, I wait a few minutes here for anybody who might be coming on in, and I think Supervisor Hernandez will be here shortly. I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. This is, of course, our Aromas Town Hall. I'm Supervisor Glenn Church, and two other supervisors from Supervisor Hernandez gets here from San Cruz County, Supervisor Kosmicki from San Benito, and it's, I don't know, I think I've probably had about 24 of these town halls throughout the district the last 3 years, so it's always great to come here because there's usually a pretty good, energetic and active crowd. But we do have a few other guests besides the three of us that I want to give some attention to them as well, and to let everybody have a couple minutes to speak if they want to say anything. First, I'll pass it here to Kollin, let him, pass it to Bill.
So first off, I just want to thank Supervisor Church for organizing this. This is done the past several years, and obviously we have a unique community here in Aromas where we have 3 supervisors representing the area, so it's just really good to have this and coordinate. And we stay in touch when there's any need, so thank you to Supervisor Church, thank you to everybody for being here. For those that were here in July, I started to hold summer town halls as well in San Benito, so it hasn't been too long since I saw some of you, but thank you for coming out. I'm certainly here to follow up on some of the things I said then, and got to work on a lot of the, all of the feedback that I heard at the town hall in July, and so I know we're going to have questions on some of those things. A couple of quick things while we're waiting for Supervisor Hernandez. You probably noticed that Cole Road is finally starting, so I'm very glad that just continued to push and push and push to make sure that that didn't fall off any further. So Cole Road is in the works and should be mostly done by Thanksgiving, is what I'm being told. Of course, that's weather dependent. And then San Juan Highway, I finally got word next to Anzar there. High school is scheduled to start in late October, October 27th, start up again, or up until November 20th or so. But otherwise, I have other issues. I just wanted to get those couple things out there because I know the roads and those questions about the roads and Carr. I'm sure Carr will come up. But I just wanted to let you know about those couple quick announcements before we get started. Thanks again.
Thank you, Kollin. So I want to go down a few of the expert guests we have here for taking some questions, and one of them is our representative from Tri-County Fire Protection District. We have Chief Rhodes back there, and he'll be able to answer any questions, I'm sure, related on fire protection. We also have 2 representatives from Monterey County Public Works Facilities and Parks, Lindsay Larrable, who is the Assistant Director, right name, title, and Enrique Sevilla, who's head of the Public Works Department. Also, we have a couple of guests from the Highway Patrol, and right over here. Hi, everyone. And I saw Officer Banuelos from there he is, right over there. Sorry, moved away from the U.S. uniforms from the Monterey County Sheriff's Office. I'll say just a few words before I pass it over to give Supervisor Hernandez an opportunity to speak. But as I mentioned, this is about, I think, about 24 of these town halls we've had. I want to touch upon just a couple of few issues around. I know a lot of you took part in the eucalyptus removal program I had going a year or so ago, and I don't know when or if we're going to be able to bring that on back, if we can get some money for that. I hope so. I'm going to advocate for it, but I'm also just advocating for anything we can get for extra funding from the state on fire protection. I did have a meeting recently with our legislative team, which helps us on legislations coming through, but also grants that the state has and the federal government has. Federal government has done some grants that we can get a hold of at this point. There's available, but the state always has some things. And I know there's some real opportunities, and I might be able to open up either eucalyptus removal or some other programs down the line on fire protection. So keep my fingers crossed on how that develops. One thing that also has come about for those of you who live within the coastal zone, I don't know here or outside of it, but the coastal zone is half of North County, so it plays a major role. The Coastal Commission just approved that you can actually have an ADU, which is an additional dwelling unit on your property. If you're inland, you already have that opportunity through the county, but it was just recently that the Coastal Commission has approved that, and that will be an opportunity coming up for folks. I think I'll just kind of leave it at that. I want to always, people have a free reign of questions, so Felipe, do you want to have any opening comments I can make?
Updates? Any comments? Mic check. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here in beautiful Aromas. This summer, we had the opportunity to complete and resurface Murphy Crossing Road and Grogy Lane and Scourgeville, which I'm really excited about. These are improvements that enhance safety, driving conditions, long-term durability. Our annual road maintenance project also took place between August 25th and September 26th, addressing key roads throughout the 4th District to keep our infrastructure safe and reliable. And those roads are not necessarily in this area, but they're a little bit further out. By Casterly Road is going to be one of them that's going to be slated for this coming next year, sorry. And West Beach, which is only partially mine and partially District 2's, can be surplus. But I'm really excited about those roads because a lot of people use those for beach access, and a lot of agriculture uses Casterly as well. Also, in July, we proudly had the opening ceremony for our first park in the 4th District since 1968. Wow. The Valle de Pájaro County Park. 4th District only has one park, while the rest of the districts have 7 or more. So I'm excited to have a 40-acre park within the 4th District. It's in Watsonville, right adjacent to the fairgrounds. We're really excited about it. We're doing a master plan right now. And currently, we're going to have sort of a temporary soccer fields demonstration farm. But when the master plan is done with the community's input, we're going to have a beautiful park that we're going to have there, featuring walking trails, open space, ADA accessible. So it's going to be a beautiful place there. Really looking forward to it. And also in August, we celebrated the completion of the Green Valley Road multi-use trail project. So we resurfaced all of Green Valley, well, all the county's portion of Green Valley. And we did a trail for folks. I don't know if you guys ever drove through that area by close to Pinot Lake, but there's a lot of memorials, unfortunately, that were there, scattered all over Green Valley. There's probably like 7 or 8 of them, people that got run over and passed away, either bicyclists or pedestrians. So I'm excited that we actually have, a walkway for people to walk their dogs, for families to walk on. In that area, they told me that people that live 1 or 2 blocks away from the park say that they actually would rather drive their kids to the park a block away because it felt so unsafe. And also they put the flash beacon crosswalks. They put 5 of them, 5 flash beacon crosswalks to cross Green Valley. So I'm really excited about that because that was the one thing that a lot of people wanted. Our National Night Out at Pinot Lake brought together about 2,000 residents and over 60 organizations. And we moved the location to Pinot Lake County Park because it got so big for Mesa Village Park. So we moved it over. So that was an exciting time. The other thing that we got coming up, some of you guys may have heard about this, but we have our ordinance for BESS facility, battery energy storage facilities. You guys may have heard this term, right? So we're doing an ordinance in Santa Cruz County that we want to put all the best practices and all the best new rules with having to do with fire safety and how to contain these if anything were to happen, how to contain them. But we want to put all the best practices that we get out of Monterey County and put them into practice, as well as Senate Bill 283, Laird's bill. We want to put all that into our ordinance because one of the things with these battery energy storage facilities is that they have the option to opt out, which means they go to the state and they get their permits without any public input. So we want to take local control, take control of this by creating an ordinance where they have to do what we say within our ordinance if they want to build something. Because otherwise, they can just build it without any input from the public, without any input from the planning process, planning commission, CEQA input to input from the board. So we want to make sure that we take local control and that they do the best practices and best standards whenever they do these facilities. Our farmer outreach continues in different farms, different areas, to spread out the word about healthcare. And right now we're in a critical time when a lot of cuts are happening within our counties and budget cuts. And so a lot of people are losing out on Medi-Cal, Medicaid, Medicruz, we call it Medicruz in our county, and not re-signing up because people are fearful. So we're going out doing outreach in farms to make sure that people still get these vital services. And finally, after a decade of leadership, our CEO, Carlos Palacios, is going to retire the beginning of December. And we unanimously voted Nicole Coburn, which was an internal employee, to become our next county CEO, pending formal approval on our October 21st meeting. But Nicole brings over 25 years of experience, public experience, and she will be the second woman to run the county in history as CEO. So thank you for the continued partnership and commitment to building a stronger, more connected county and Tri-County. Thank you.
Can I give you a little bit of a microphone public speaking etiquette lesson for using a microphone? So there's two ways to do it. You stick it out like a 45-degree angle, or you do it like an ice cream cone down here. Don't do that. Do this with the 45-degree angle. Everybody can hear you better. So, or that's even better. So, thank you.
So our last meeting with only Supervisor Kosmicki, we hit him up with all these traffic issues, including repaving my street over here, Roselle. But today I'm more interested, because we did cover that already in Monterey County. We have a real big concern at where Carpinteria meets San Juan Road. Ever since that bridge was put in, San Juan is a major thoroughfare, and Carpinteria has a fair amount of traffic at times. I used to commute that all the time from the Prunedale area and have to come down San Juan from the Watsonville side of things toward Carpinteria and make that left turn. And there's no official left turn lane pocket, you know. Cars use the shoulder and they come by at 50 miles an hour. It's like, so, I mean, at the very least, it needs a left turn lane coming from the Watsonville direction. And possibly others are saying it should have a traffic light as well. It might be a good idea, but certainly the left turn lane, I think. The other one is simply a repaving. Dolan Road in Moss Landing is terrible. It was Castroville, you know how Castroville becomes Dolan? Well, Castroville was repaved some years ago, but Dolan was not. So from the turnoff where Castroville turns off to Highway 1, it's really, really bad. Just needs to be repaved.
I can help, give you really good news on the first part of it, and then work away on the second one there on Dolan Road. That's an issue people have raised with me quite a bit. Needing a turn lane into there, and that is actually in the design phase. And you were talking about it. I'm going to turn it over to Enrique to kind of give a little more detail on that too. But we are working on putting a turn lane out there so that when you go and you're leaving from Carpinteria, at least you could turn going left, like to the highway. That's one thing. And you're saying you still need a turn lane. Better lane coming in. Is that what you're asking for too?
I think there's plenty of room. When you go up Carpinteria to San Juan, I think there's already enough room. On Carpinteria, there's enough room there for a car to turn left and another to turn right. That to me, I don't see an issue. It's coming off of San Juan onto Carpinteria. That's really bad.
So it's from the west to the west.
Yes.
And also from Carpinteria.
From,
Makes a lot.
from the carpinteria, when you're make sure.
From San Juan Road.
San Juan Road, turning into
When you're on
Turning into
Carpinteria trying to make a left,
Okay.
when you're on Carpinteria trying to make a left onto San Juan, I've been there many times where you're going one way and another car is next to you going the other way. Sometimes you have the visibility issue trying to see past each other, but that to me is not an issue. The only thing that would really help there would be a traffic light, because sometimes you test people's patience and that leads to accidents when they
Sure.
don't have enough patience.
So there is, that is something we've explored too, and it has, met the warrants, the requirements for a traffic light, or, potentially even a roundabout or whatever happens out down there. I know people have different feelings about those, but they're, it's better in the current situation, either one, whatever comes up. Of course, that's going to be the next step, to find funding for that. But there is a lot of complaints I've had about people saying that they want to be able to make a left turn over there and cars coming up. So there's a turn lane on that. What you're addressing hasn't really been brought up before, and I can talk with Public Works about that as well. I'm also trying to get one of these flashing lights down as you're going on San Juan grade from the highway, and it's before you go up the hill, to kind of warn people that there's cross traffic. So I'm hoping that's going to happen fairly soon. But I'll let Enrique give a little more details, because he knows the ins and outs of this a little better than I do.
Enrique, I'm going to say Enrique gave us that red curve by the town square. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Like Supervisor first mentioned, we are currently working on a design consultant to design the left turn pocket as you go eastbound on San Juan towards Carpinteria. And then along with that, we're looking at adding we call a center refuge lane, or a lane where you can turn into if you're going eastbound on San Miguel. So if you're right from Aromas towards the highway, you can kind of go into the middle lane there as you wait to cross both lanes of traffic.
You need it from west to east as well.
Yes, so
Turn left.
west towards Aromas, and as you head out of Aromas towards the highway, you have like a center area where you turn in 2 steps, basically. So we're working on design, and thanks for the supervisor providing us funding for design. As we complete design, we're going to go into construction. We're hopeful that in the upcoming months we'll be able to do that. So look forward to that, and hopefully the next time we meet, we'll have that one constructed.
So I'm Pat Lerman. I live in Collins District in San Benito. First of all, I want to say, before I say what I think the main thing, Glenn, you have done the most incredible things. I mean, there's these slow down signs that we have now in Aromas, amazing. Getting things painted. You've just been so active in doing things. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Colin, we've all benefited, no matter which county we live in. So Colin, I've been reading about the deficit in San Benito, and I know some of my dear friends who are sitting in the audience were part of the move to eliminate the nodes, which those of us who opposed that elimination felt that it would bring revenue into the county. And there's been this mantra from the people that are affiliated with you that San Benito County is going to become financially viable because of tourism, which I find incredibly difficult to imagine, because I'd rather go to Monterey. I don't know why they would come here. So I'm interested in what is the plan. I know that you're talking about increasing the sales tax, which I think is going to be urgent and probably needs to be done. But for those progressives, we know that sales tax is regressive. And so it's going to be the working people who end up bearing that. But what is the long-term plan for financing this county? Because my road's not going to get paved. You don't have any money. I mean, how many people are getting laid off in San Benito?
12.
12, and also, that's the only layoff notices?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And that affects our community. I mean, sure, you don't want to lay people off. It affects our community when people get laid off. It hurts the businesses that they would frequent. And anyway, what's the plan? What's the long-term plan?
No, I appreciate that. Thank you, as always. So, first of all, when you talk about the nodes, I've always said it was a huge mistake for the county to try and, along with the folks that were pushing for that effort, to essentially completely commercialize this open space section of our beautiful county, all the way from Gilroy to Aromas. And I think what would have been a smarter approach would have been something more subtle, and to maybe choose one of those, I don't know who came up with the word nodes, but I guess somebody from Seminole County just loved that term, but intersections. And seems like the more simple way of calling it, you know, an intersection. I would think that if you would have chosen one of those and started with one, something that fit in with the culture of San Benito County, it would have been a smarter approach. And instead what happened was, I don't necessarily need to repeat history, but this is my perspective of it. What happened was, there was essentially, from the public's eye and from my eyes, a push to completely commercialize that section of our county and to basically turn us into another suburb, turn us into another Gilroy, and that's not what most people in this community want. You can do it the right way. It's all about, we can control our destiny. It's all about choosing the right locations where commercial belongs, completely commercializing that section of the community. I think the public has spoken loud and clear that that's not something they want. I think the public has spoken loud and clear that they don't want the biggest truck stop in California, 500 feet from Anzar High School. These are the things that I've been fighting for, listening to the public. I think we can do things the right way. You know, there are other nodes, what I call intersections, in the community where commercial is allowed. We do have 1,500 acres of available commercial and industrial property near the airport in Hollister, which is an ideal location to develop if you want commercial and industrial. I'm personally not against shutting out all commercial along 101. I have to listen to the constituents though, and we have to look at these piece by piece when they come up. If there's the right project, if it's something that the public can get behind, then I'm going to get behind it. But what I saw with the nodes, I thought that was pretty clear that was just an attempt to commercialize, to make us become another Gilroy.
My question really is, what is the strategy?
What is the strategy? That's what I'm getting at. So, as I said last time, I respectfully disagree with you that tourism cannot be a foundation of our economy. We do need more manufacturing industrial jobs. Like I said, we have 1,500 prime acres near the airport, which would be an ideal location for that to happen, to build commercial, manufacturing, industrial, commercial. We have other intersections throughout the county where we need to do a better job of promoting, and I've been upfront about this, we need to do a better job of promoting to the business community that these opportunities are there. We as a county cannot just wave a magic wand and force businesses to develop these areas. We need to provide incentives in some cases, and that's what we're doing, for instance, with our hotel incentive program that we just developed, and it's in the process of being passed, and it will be passed formally very soon, which is essentially offering incentives for new development of hotels, offering incentives for renovation of existing hotels in the community. And as far as the tourism goes, we're working on providing a transportation network to and from Pinnacles, because one of the biggest impediments of Pinnacles National Park's growth as an economic engine is the fact that people get there and they have to wait for 2 hours when they get there, and that's a big problem. So there isn't parking available, and we're working on it and I'm pushing forward on this myself, and I'm on the transportation board as well, on finding the funding to create park and ride situations or stops in destination areas like San Juan Bautista, Hollister, where people can stay there, get on the bus, go to Pinnacles, and try to, if we do incentivize hotel development in our community, it will provide more opportunities for further growth with other areas. Because the way that I laid this out in July, my vision for the tourism economy is to really go all in on Pinnacles and to really promote ourselves as the county, as home of Pinnacles National Park. And I'm going to keep pushing this, and it's going to happen while I'm on this board. We are going to be called Home of Pinnacles National Park. Soledad, with all due respect, tried to steal it and call themselves Gateway. Everybody basically comes through our side we're the home of Pinnacles National Park, and we're going to be, it's going to be our slogan before I'm off the board. But that's our anchor. And everything else, if we can find opportunities for people to stay in the community for 3-4 days, 2-3-4 days as a staycation, as a Bay Area, Central Coast region destination, they will go to those other places. They will shop at our stores. They will go to San Juan Bautista, is one of the most beautiful destinations in the region, and we can really do a lot more there. And I do believe, now that Highway 156 is expanded, that you're going to see the businesses start to come back in San Juan Bautista as well. As far as the sales tax goes, that's been on the table long before I was a supervisor. There's this small group in the community that just, obviously has tried to antagonize me and a couple of the other supervisors because we're on the side of irresponsible growth, slower housing growth. And so they try to basically make up all these things, and you've seen the cartoons and all this nonsense. The entire board has talked about being behind at least gauging the public's perspective on this sales tax, because in the unincorporated areas, the sales tax is 8.25 versus the city of Hollister, which is at 9.25, and nobody seems to have a problem with the 9.25 in Hollister. So the thought is that could be an opportunity at some point, should the unincorporated area be on the same page as Hollister. It seems to make sense to me. If the public doesn't want that, though, I'm totally full respect for that, and I'm going to make it work either way. But we have to bring that to the ballot. And if the public wants the sales tax increase, and wants the additional $4 million in revenue that we can use to try to avoid further economic problems down the road, then they do. Otherwise, like I said, I'm going to make it work either way. Otherwise, I'll finish. I know I'm going on here a little bit, but we as a county have not historically done nearly a good enough job of recovering the fees that we should be recovering in a lot of different areas, including from developers. We're currently working on updating our fee structure, our impact fee structure, so that we finally get our fair share from developers. Frankly, we have a lot of departmental issues where our departments have not done an adequate enough job of collecting fees that they're supposed to be collecting. And these are a lot of just problems internally that we're working on fixing to bump up the revenue to avoid that. But the bottom line is with the budget, our budget is stable now. And this current board has recognized there was a problem with the way that the budgeting was done in the past. And I've been raising the red flag my entire time on the board with the way that this county has been doing its budgeting, which is basically overinflating your budget intentionally, having dozens and dozens of positions that were never going to be filled. It's called vacancy budgeting, and I've been saying it's wrong for years. Knowing you're never going to fill those positions so that departments have flexibility throughout the year to come back and have budget amendments, and it eventually caught up to us. And it caught up to us in a big way, but we're stable now. We have a balanced budget. We're stable going forward. We're putting money toward the roads, and as long as I'm on this board, we're gonna emphasize infrastructure and get those roads fixed. Thanks. Including, I'm working on roads, so don't. So it can't happen overnight. We just met in July, but I've initiated the conversation about having a plan to address these smaller residential roads, because obviously the majority of the public wants these higher volume roads, and I talked about safety and high volume in July. We have to make those the priority first. So the Cole Road, Union Roads, now we have a bid, we're gonna have a contract for Union Road to get fixed, close to the Hollister area, obviously. But these higher volume roads did have to be a priority. We are developing a plan to hit the residential roads like Gordon and some of the others. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. My biggest concern are the battery storage facilities. And I was just plain, their hazard plan is dismal at best. Are you going to have them give us a plan that is viable and proven?
So I'm sorry, I missed
The battery storage
battery
facility,
storage, sorry.
Moss Landing or wherever.
Yeah.
You know them.
Yeah.
You know, we've had 2 major fires there, and my personal thought on it is dismal at best.
Yeah. The Supervisor Hernandez was talking about what they're doing over there in Santa Cruz County. I'm preparing right now about proposal for ordinances in Monterey County onto this itself, so that's going to be coming out very, very shortly. The greatest challenge we have here is there's two things. Is one, these they're utilities, which means that the operation is run by the state. It's not like a regular business. It's their operation is done by the CPUC or the California Energy Commission, the CEC, and they're the ones that really have the say-so on what happens. The second problem with it is legislation that was passed in 2022 or 2023, I can't remember, it's called AB 205, which further gives more control to the state, which is what Supervisor Hernandez was referring to here. Any of these battery facilities can just, if they want to put batteries in, completely bypass a county at level. If it's a 200 megawatt or larger facility, which those are over there, they can just go straight to the state, to the California Energy Commission, turn in an application, and in 270 days, they will get an answer, which will almost undoubtedly be yes at that point. Minimal input here at the county level, and I say minimal, I mean hardly any at all. We do not have, if they do that, we do not have the power to stop them, because that's the state has gone over and taken over, as it has on a whole range of things, as I've learned over the last few years, where they've taken power away from the local officials. Facility out there, we're not the ones that can say shut it down or anything at this point. It's governed by the California Public Utilities Commission, the CPUC. They're the ones that handle safety for all utilities. And it makes it a real challenge at this point, a real big challenge. Because unlike almost everything else as a land use issue, we really have very little control that we can put over into it. And the way things stand out there, that infrastructure that was out there has been out there since the 40s, basically, 48, but in the early mid-60s, it was expanded. And when that was a power plant, it actually was the largest power plant on the West Coast. And all that infrastructure to put that energy out, it's expanded throughout the rest of the state, throughout the West, is still there. And that's what makes it extremely attractive. And that is why you have essentially business, labor, environmental groups, and a whole lot of political support for continuing to have that grow out there. And I think, what I want to try to do, I know what Supervisor Hernandez was kind of referring to over in Santa Cruz County wants to try to do, is have us get as much say-so and influence in there as possible. But as I say, it is not something that we have real control over, because the state has taken the lead in deciding where energy should go. And that's, in my view, is unfortunate, because I believe you should have more local control. So it's the challenge. But I am trying to go through, as I say, putting together something here that will go through and start to address as many safety, monitoring, and the other steps that we can make with any facilities that are in existence there, or efforts to try to put some in.
If I may, on the San Mateo County side, I'll try to be brief. San Mateo County was frankly looking at banning them outright. And, at least for the most part, as far as zoning goes, took a step back because of some of the concerns that have been raised about the state having control. I think what we're doing now, Aromas resident Rich Way, chair of the Planning Commission, represents this district, or my district, or your district. And he's put together an ad hoc committee, and they're currently developing an ordinance for San Mateo County that's going to do whatever we can to put the control back on our side. My take personally, I think we all want to find ways to develop renewable energy sources. This is a really troubling catch-22, because these facilities are not safe. We were just in an Air Resources District meeting today, and we had a presentation about air toxics and air toxins, and just how as more complicated our world gets with technology and all these things, air toxins are going to be more and more of a problem. And these battery facilities right now are just not safe. They're going to start on fire. There aren't enough safeguards. I think from the local perspective, what I'm going to push for is whatever we do, if we have to allow these facilities from a zoning standpoint, keep them as far away from people as possible. To me, these facilities should be a good distance from populated areas. That's, I think, if we have to have them, they need to be far away from people. They need to be in areas where if the winds pick up, the winds don't carry all those toxins and dump them. Just like you guys had almost the worst of it here. I live in the San Juan area, and I was smelling that battery for a couple of days. It was disgusting, and who knows what damage it did to our bodies and our brains. It's something that we are going to take seriously in San Diego County.
You know, I do want to point out that these BESS facilities are part of a larger plan to reduce greenhouse gases and to meet the demands of the state to reduce emissions too. So it does, as you can see, put us between a rock and a hard place. But I just want to express the importance of these ordinances that we're able to put, you know, whatever we deem makes these more safe. Whether it's like, one of the things that we do want to put is to put the latest and safest technology, not the cheapest technology, when these actual facilities are being built. As of that date, whatever the latest and safest technology is. We're talking about putting project labor agreements together so that it's organized labor that does these projects. We're talking about carving out a community benefit, because it's like these projects invest a lot of money into these projects, and we can do a carve out for community benefit. So these are the kind of things that we're trying to put. It's more than just land use, right, in this ordinance. We're putting stuff like community benefit, who works on these projects. So it's really important that we take this local control and not let them opt out and just go through the process without any input.
So what I've done in drafting what I'm going to be proposing is I've spoken to counties up and down the state who are working on this. Orange County, supervisors in Los Angeles County, San Diego, and trying to pull together some ideas on what we can really do here. One thing that I'm going to propose, I don't know anybody else is doing, is somewhat of a bifurcated ordinance system, because the way it is with this AB 205, it's saying if you've got a battery energy storage system that's 200 megawatts or larger, then that utility can go through and get this opt-in and get this streamlined process, which is why you can't be, if you come in with really strict regulations at the local level for that size, they're just going to bypass us and go to the state. So they're kind of in a bind here where we want to get them to work with us and not to the state, because we want people to have an input. And you're not going to have it if Sacramento is approving it. But what I'm trying to do is have a pathway for those larger systems with ordinances, and then for those under 200, have another set of ordinances. And those, in many ways, we actually can go in and really put in some tighter controls, some stricter regulations, and some control. But, and I agree with Kollin, they need to be as far away as possible. I mean, we had a fire in Monterey County down in, oh my goodness, I'm skipping my mind. It's,
Where the earthquake capital is.
yeah, there's a Parkfield down there. Parkfield, sorry. It was a small facility that caught on fire a few weeks ago. It still caused the people to evacuate, but it's not sitting out here in Moss Lane. You got businesses, you got people and residences. I mean, I could just live along the Elkhorn Hill, not too many miles away. I could smell it just like the rest of you folks could too. It's going to be a real challenge. It's not going to go away. We've just got to make it as safe as possible.
Hi, I'm Cindy Slade. I'm a Monterey County resident. I'm going to change the topic to one that's hyper-local. I live on Rhea Avenue, and we have a 30 rooster raising operation at the end of our road. And we've had myself and 8 other residents have complained about the noise. And that was back in February. We were told there was a process where they'd be told they need to reduce the noise, and then they would contact us and find out, we'd document whether the noise had been reduced. None of that ever happened. So I'm wondering if you have anything going on that could give the more teeth to a rooster ordinance in Monterey County.
The current rooster ordinance in Monterey County, which was set up in 2016, I'll put it real plainly, it sucks. It doesn't work. You can have up to almost 500 roosters. It doesn't, you get a permit for it, you don't have to prove that you're not using them for cockfighting. And I don't know what anybody have 400 roosters for except for cockfighting. But what I did towards the end of last year is I submitted, as I'm going to do with this for the battery energy systems, we call here on the board of supervisors as a referral, and then it goes out to staff and we get an ordinance developed. I put one last year to redo this. We paused it this year because there was legislation in the state we thought that was going to pass that would go through and be really aggressive to the point where it would say if you're going to have more than 5 or 10 roosters, that's what the state legislation was, you got to prove they're not being used for cockfighting, otherwise you can't have them. Maybe they're for show, maybe they're for 4-H program. Who knows? Maybe you've got hens and you're raising. I don't know. You got to have a reason. You just can't have 500 roosters sitting out here, which is pretty obvious to what that's for. So that legislation unfortunately died, but I had this referral that's still out there, and it's coming back to the Board of Supervisors, and I hope the next couple of weeks. And at that point, it's going to have something drafted up into there, and we're going to get something done here forthwith to go through till we can address that. Of course, it's still going to need the resources, but I know the Monterey County Sheriff's Department's been really supportive of this because they realize, when it's my discussions with the sheriff and the undersheriff, is that where you have a whole bunch of roosters that are being used for cockfighting, you probably have a lot of other illegal activity going on too. So I hope we get to address it.
Just on this subject, I don't have questions about batteries, but I will say something because I totally stay abreast of what's happening with battery development, research, and all over the world. The good news is that several years off, but the good news is today's batteries will be laughable in possibly as few as 3 or 4 years. The first one that comes to mind is sodium-ion batteries. The progress that's being made, and it's being made all over the world, with the exception of where funds are being pulled, maybe in the United States, but the progress that's being made to the longevity of batteries and the safety, this is a worldwide concern. Everyone wants safer batteries. Whether the fire is just one car, or it's a ship full of cars, or it's a Moss Landing, that monster there, everyone wants this, but we do have to figure out how to get through the next few years. But in 4 or 5 years, batteries are going to be much, much safer, much, much cheaper, and they're going to last longer. All of that is going to happen. It's a question of whose formula, but it's definitely on its way. That's not my question. I want to go back to San Benito County and that quarry overburden pile. If you are not familiar with it, stop on the San Juan Bridge on 101 and look to the northwest. You'll see this giant pile of gray, it just looks like a big giant gray gravel pile. I don't see any controls for it, like what they've put in to keep that. We had a very fortunate that this past winter was pretty mild. We have another severe winter. A big chunk of that is just going to fill our streams down below. I want to know who, I'm sure when this was approved, I know how the process goes now, there's always these conditions of use. I'm sure that it operates under a conditional use permit that was designed 20 years ago or whatever. I want to know who's enforcing that. who's inspecting this to see that they're following through on the conditions that need to be met? Thank you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, Barry. So you brought this similar issues up in July, and I have communicated with it's basically our planning department, which works with Granite Rock, and so they're aware of your concern, and as far as I know, they're looking into it, and I'll have to follow up, and I'll follow up with the Granite Rock folks as well. That's about as much as I can tell you. I'm aware of it, they're aware of it, and I'll certainly check in just when I get back home today. I'll put a note out and make a call in the morning and see where it's at. So I did follow up with that when you brought that up. But you're specifically pointing out the pile, the one pile.
The overburden pile. That's what that conveyor has been hauling, what they can't use as sellable.
You were bringing up some other issues as well in July.
No, other people may have brought up other issues.
Okay.
Those were mine. You know, we had that fire that was on their power lines that feed that conveyor belt system. We had that fire 2 years ago. But I don't know if they got fined for that or whatever, but the state dealt with that one way. I don't know what the ultimate result was. I know they were responsible for those power lines that caused that fire. But my concern is the runoff. I see Caterpillar tractors running up and down that hill. I just don't see anything to contain it, to keep it from sliding down. I feel like we have minor developments, a few houses, and they put in a catch basin, and you see what goes on around that to keep it secure and stable. And here you have something that's 1,000 times the size of these things with like nothing that I could see. The best place to see it is, like I said, from somewhere.
Yeah, and I'd be glad to coordinate, if you and some other folks in Aromas have a keen interest in this particular issue, I'd be glad to coordinate whether we get together as a group, planning, Granite Rock, the community, come out and just talk it through basically. I think that's essentially the best way of approaching it. I don't, there's things that you're going to like and there's things you're going to dislike about the quarry. It's an institution, a foundation of the community here. I think my experience is that they do their best to try to work with the community when there are concerns. So let's have a conversation and let's figure it out.
Hi, my name is Heather Howell. I'm the principal at Aromas School just down the road here. So I don't really have a question. I kind of have a request, if that's okay. So this is my 10th year as principal of Aromas School. Over the last 5 years, there has been an increase in our school population by over 100 students. With that population increase has come an increase in traffic on Carpinteria. There are not enough parking spaces to accommodate all our staff and parents wishing to park and walk their children to school. This has resulted in parents creating their own drop-off points on Carpinteria and having their children cross this busy street without safety. I'm hoping you will consider installing what I just learned, flash beacon sidewalks for our students at the intersection so that our students have a safe place to cross to get to school. And we are also in need of a red curb and no parking signage on Carpinteria at the entrance of the parking lot to the school. Parents are currently parking their cars there, and there should be an easy flow of traffic from Aromas Road. And what is happening now is people are pulling behind the parked cars thinking that they're going to be moving, and then they realize they're not moving, and they get frustrated, and then they swerve around those cars into the oncoming lane, which causes a real traffic and safety problem. So as the population of Aromas School increases, these hotspot areas will only continue to become worse. And I'm here to ask that you please consider making Carpinteria safer for our students by undertaking these projects.
Sure. So could I ask you to take those points you made? There's in the back. There she is. Leonie, give it to her, and we'll look into it. Make sure you give your name and a phone number or email too, so I can get back with you.
My name is Halbert. On the same topic of kids, we have Aromas School has over 400 students now. That's just the students that are preschool through 8 in Aromas. A lot of parents also take their kids to other schools. So we have a lot of children in this community. We have one park. I'm not talking about Royal Oaks Park. We have one park in this community, Aromas Community Park. And it's run by a board of folks that are meaning well, they're great people, I know them all, but we're having trouble actually getting our park to function as a community park. We've never had a third-party audit of this board. They've received almost $2 million for this park, and we don't have a playground. We have a soccer field that Aromas Youth Soccer, which I'm on the board, paid for, and we still have to pay them $15,000 for 4 months of use on this field that we put in. There's a dog park. We love the dog park. There's a trail, and that's it. There's 3 bars. I'm not even sure what they're for, where kids keep getting hurt on those. It's not a playground. And they currently signed a contract with K&D Landscaping for almost $50,000 a year for landscaping. Yet they've asked you for funding, Mr. Church, and you've given them, I think, close to $20,000 last year. But it's our tax dollars, and we've never audited this board. They had a $250,000 grant. Where did that money go? There's what looks like a carport next to the bathrooms that was supposed to be used for, what I understand, weddings. Who's going to have a wedding next to the bathrooms in the middle of Aromas Community Park? It doesn't make any sense what's going on there. The people that use it are soccer, people that use it as a community. When my kids go out there, my son's there right now doing soccer practice. There's no playground on the weekends. There's no other use for it except for what we use for it. And you can't actually go on the field if there is somebody like Aromas Youth Soccer using it. And we're not using it. There's other folks from other parts of the county that are using it, that have rented it. So you can't be on the field. There's something that is uncomfortable about what's going on with that park. It's not a community park anymore, and there's board members that have told us to our faces, it's their park. And we've tried to get on this board, and they tell us it takes 6 to 9 months to get on the board. And it's the same board members for years now. And I went to every single board meeting for an entire year. And I was appalled by the way they show their numbers and how they run their park. And when I started pushing back, they started pushing back on the boards that I was on. So the Home and School Club and Aromas started getting grief from them. The youth soccer, we just signed a contract with them, the soccer board, after 5 years of trying to sign a contract with them. So we're not happy. The community, a good portion of the community is not happy with the way that board is run.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm not going to speak for everyone else, but when they go out and they tell Aromas Youth Soccer sponsors to stop sponsoring youth soccer because we're pushing back on a contract, there's something we don't like about the way they're running their board. We want more people that are involved with other community boards to be on their board. Our contract says youth soccer should have a member on their board, and we don't have a member on their board yet. We'd like to have some oversight of the community park board to see what's going on. Because you've given them our money, we need to know what's going on.
This is a private group. First, it's not run by the county or anything. There are groups that have come to each of the supervisors, because each of the supervisors have a small amount of discretionary fund which we could provide to nonprofit groups or for some groups for public benefit. Grange Senior Center provided them some money. There's been groups out in the Pajaro area that were doing things. The same thing, with any group that wants to come up. If the group from the park who's ever running it, they come up, they want to have a proposal of some ideas that they're requesting some fund, and it's for public benefit. I'm going to look at that at what's being proposed right there and consider it as something to support whoever is a part of it. I realize you're bringing up points that you feel real strongly about, and I'm not going to, I can't get into groups that really aren't part of a county. It's just like any kind of a business disagreement that goes on between two businesses. I'm not going to jump right into it. If they both want to come to me and say, hey, can you help us mediate something? I'm more than happy to. But it isn't a county park out of that. It isn't a government park. I would, and I understand your frustration. You're trying to find a way to get on the board, to get more input into there, and there are some things that I don't think we want government jumping into on everything in terms of a complaint. And so happy to help, sit down and talk with everybody involved into this. If people feel that they want to try to come to some kind of resolution, I'm very happy to jump in onto that. I'm also going to, whoever's on that board, if somebody comes up with a proposal and requesting something, I'm going to present it around to how the money's spent. It's all public open. It's all done out for in the board meetings. It's laid right out what it is. It's very clear. So there's no secrets involved into there by any means at all. We can't go to and require an audit on a private group though. So that's not going to happen out of that. I'll tell you one thing that they have come to me saying, you say they have $2 million. I don't know. They have said that they're struggling financially. I don't know over what period of time they've had it. I know the park out in Pajaro had a lot of money that was put into it initially too, and now the county's basically had to come in and work with Pajaro Sunny Mesa, which operates that in an agreement between the two bodies on how it operates that. But this group here has also come to me and asked, is there any way that this can be made into a park with a special district? It would be a real challenge because it's serving 3 counties. And I have discussed it with LAFCO, which is the local agency formation committee, which does these kind of things. This is a way for the community to get involved. Would be if it started to become more of a public park and a public district, then you would have ways for you to really get involved and get onto the board. That makes it a lot more accountable than a private group. But I'll take what you've said here into consideration and discuss when things come up forth. You've given me some questions, perhaps to raise, and I appreciate that. You've never reached out to me about it before. Into detail, but we'll be happy to, anything that comes up on like that to discuss it with you as well. Anyway.
Thank you. Really great. I've been in the process the last 2 years of park development with Mesa Village Park and the new park. What I would suggest too, you guys probably have a Friends of Parks for Monterey County that does like the foundational fundraising for parks. They're really good to tap into for technical advice. More than I ever thought, they know everything about technical advice for parks. I would suggest you tap into them to find out, and I'm sure that even this nonprofit would be open to them coming in because they give really great advice about fundraising, about facilities, master plans. One of the things about master plans now is that they require a lot of public input, and it's the tool that provides the funding. You need that master plan to get that funding for any parks-based parks. So I suggest you tap into that. That's weird. But I really wanted to address this. We also went through the same process at Charter the Art School on Casserly. The parking, the amount of cars and traffic and drop-offs. It's going to take both the county planning department and the school district. They don't have a planning department, but they have a facilities director, usually. And they come up with a plan to do the paint outs. They paint where the buses go, where the cars go, the drop-offs go, and it's really mitigated the traffic up on Casserly and Whiteman Road over there in Charlie Arts. So it's going to take all 3 to work together on that one.
Everybody knows the story of Anne Frank. And it's a horrible story, but we're here. This is what's happening right now. So my question is to all supervisors and all law enforcement, what are your plans to help the residents of the county, of our counties, from the fascist uprising from this government that we have? and from the ice raids that are happening. We've all seen the videos from Portland, Chicago, LA, DC, and we've seen the kidnappings happen. And I want to know what your plan is and how are you going to protect the residents of your county, documented and or undocumented. What's your plan to help?
And I'll go first here as well. There hasn't been anything to that degree down here in Monterey County. You know, it's there's been rumors at times that have floated up of ICE coming in to the county in various locations, but it hasn't happened. One thing that, you know, what the county did, Monterey County did here initially, is it held some, earlier this year, it held some forums, it held out for a lot of folks on Know Your Rights, and they were held in South County, they were held out in Pajaro, they were held in Salinas.
Here too.
And here too, yes. And that was done to educate people and know what their rights really are. You know, I think at this point, there's been discussions in the county about this, what should happen, and depends on the circumstances. It's hard sometimes plan for a hypothetical that can have a whole range of possibilities depending on what's happening. But there is been a lot of, you know, as I say, there's been some thoughts here on what we're going forth, and there hasn't been anything done on that line to even suggest it's coming out to here. At this point, it's happening in some big cities. It's happening in Portland, it happened in LA. Haven't seen it happen into smaller communities or medium-sized communities, such as we have here. And obviously you can see there's big problems in big cities with how to handle that with itself, so there would be a great deal of challenges into here. But a lot of the discussions that have been done, and what I would have to relay across would be more closed session, which we talk about a lot of legal issues, and I can't really spill out all those things. I don't think I necessarily want to, but that doesn't really answer your question, and I apologize for that. But
I kind of want to know what the guidelines are to the law enforcement, if they're going to help the residents or if they're going to help ICE agents if they're here.
I don't know if I can speak for the sheriff's office on this, or Mr. Banuelos wants to, but I know the sheriff of Monterey County has not taken a position to do the cooperation. Do you want to add anything else in?
Only that we are not, ICE can come in, they're going to do what they're going to do, whether it's a sanctuary area or not, they can come in and do their operations. They are not giving us forewarning. They're not providing us anything. We are not assisting them in any way, any manner, but we're not going to stop them as well. Needless to say, if they call for emergency and they need help, we're going to go help them regarding officer-involved shooting or something like that. It doesn't matter, they're our brothers in uniform, and if they're asking for assistance, we will help in that manner, but we're not going to go and assist with raids or anything of that nature. If it's a life-threatening situation, we're mandated to.
Well, 90% of those ICE agents are just hired thugs.
I don't
That
can't
have
comment
no
on that.
training, have no experience, none of it. Did we see them struggling with some person that they're trying to kidnap and they're dropping their gun, then they're losing their clip? They're idiots that have no training and shouldn't be protected by police.
It doesn't matter if they're ICE agents, we can't let, we have to protect life, and that is what we're sworn to do.
How do you know if they're actually ICE agents?
I don't know, sir. You're doing a lot of hypothetical situations.
Well, no, I mean, a lot of them across this country have been discovered not to be ICE agents and just people that are.
Well, we're not going to be, the deputy's not going to be able to answer some of the questions. I understand your concerns, but let's let the supervisors.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate, because they're in a tough spot. I mean, in our sheriff's office, I can tell you, and I have a lot of respect for Mr. Benuelos as well, and our sheriff has made it very clear that it's not their role to get involved in immigration issues. So in San Benito County, our local law enforcement is not going to be taking part in any sort of raids and whatnot.
And that's where I wanted to get in, Supervisor. I'm Commander of Benuelos, and I'm overseeing our patrol, all of our patrol division for Monterey County. With that being said, our sheriff takes the same stance. I believe most of all county sheriffs are taking that stance.
Everyone, good evening. My name is Lieutenant Raul Gonzalez. I'm one of the managers here at Salinas office, Monterey CHP. With me here, currently Officer Fabio Murillo is actually about to promote to sergeant. So he's been here a long time, going on 20 years serving this community. Very excited he's going to promote to one of the sergeants around here soon. But what I wanted to touch on, like Commander Benuelos did say, to the gentleman's question regarding ICE, the California Highway Patrol's stance, very similar to what Commander Benuelos said. We're not providing any sort of information. We're not allowed to ICE agents. The only involvement, if any, like Commander Benuelos mentioned, is we will respond in case they need immediate assistance, life-saving, assistance. Other than that, CHP is not involved in anything ICE related. Okay, it's actually against the law for us to do so. If that wasn't clear, that's law enforcement stance in general. You can leave it open to any questions. Did you have anything to add to that?
Other than, like Lieutenant Gonzalez said, it's against government code to be able to provide any other assistance other than life-saving measures. We at the CHP, we forge strong bonds with the community that we work with. So if information is relayed that, most of the time it's wrong information that's passed on, that law enforcement is working with ICE when it's not the case. So we want that message to be clear, that we work so hard to build the trust from the community, and we want to continue to have that trust with the community. And so hopefully we answered your question, sir.
So really quick, in Santa Cruz County, we have done a sanctuary resolution, and there's discussion right now with our Latino Affairs Commission to change that resolution into an ordinance that has more legally binding teeth. And within that ordinance, we talk about not working with ICE, and our sheriff kind of says the same thing that the officers here said. But one of the unique things that we did is we put $200,000 for a legal defense fund for any immigrants or any folks that are being targeted with the LGBTQ community for a legal defense. And we've also created a county-wide network of community organizations where we have weekly discussions with our newly voted on county director that sits on those calls. And we're in frequent communication with what they call the YAR, Y-A-R-R, Rapid Response Network. So between the community, the county, the cities, we have this weekly meetup early in the morning at 8:30 that we talk about different topics, discussions, things that are going on to connect with the community.
My name is Ryan. I'm a parent of two daughters at Aromas School. I want to reiterate and emphasize what Principal Howell has said about safety around the pickup area, drop-off area. Multiple times, cars fly past us while we're trying to cross the street, and that's my only option. Along with that is the speed on Carpinteria recently. I'm on Carr Avenue, and people are going 2.5 times the speed limit past Carr Avenue. And you pull out thinking you have space because you have 100 yards. And at 25 miles an hour, you should have plenty of space. These cars almost rear-end us. My wife complains about this every single day. I think it is a police matter, so more police presence is probably necessary. But That is a big, big problem that I've noticed recently. I've been here since 2019. It only seems to be getting worse and worse. It was a nice, quaint, slow community. And now we just have people that are just driving through because it's a pass-through to get back to the 129 or something. People driving past the school really fast in the morning. So, like what Howell said, I'm an advocate for putting speed humps on the road now. They have them on Carr Avenue. It's done a great job, but let's do something about the speed.
I've made some notes of that, and we'll, try to look into that. There's been complaints about that all along the road at times. We've tried to address it with some signs, but down here it seems like it's getting worse by the school, so thank you.
Is the principal still here? Principal? Oh, back there. Every school district, by state law, has to create what they call safe routes to school plan. And what happens is that at the school site, the public comes and gives input as to where the safety concerns are in the community. And then those plans are shared with the county or city, if it's in the city, that are then put in queue as some of the routes that they're going to address to make them safer for bicyclists, pedestrians, and drivers alike. So I'd suggest also touching base with the facilities director again to find out if there's a safe routes to school plan for the school here.
If I may? I would just say I've got, and I know he wants to say something as well. I've got a 17-year-old and a 4-year-old, and my 4-year-old just started at San Juan School. So I've sort of seen the evolution of how crazy people are driving, and especially around schools. And it does need to become more of a priority. We're going to have one of these situations or more where we're going to have the fatalities and these accidents, and then we're going to say, why didn't we do something earlier? So I do always strongly advocate we're going to have to get more creative because there aren't resources being put toward law enforcement with speed control mechanisms. So I will, even though Carpinteria is Monterey, and I never want to step on Supervisor Church's toes because I think he does a fantastic job. I think we're all lucky for both of these two gentlemen to be representing this area. But I will strongly advocate to at least look at the speed limit on Carpinteria and putting in speed mechanisms. And if there's anything San Benito County can do, I will certainly advocate for that. Because I do know that the laws have changed somewhat, where in the old days you had to go through a more extensive process to get speed limits changed. And my understanding is you can now at least take a look at some incremental changes. So I would strongly push to at least look at that. And I'll also say what I said last year is, and I'm not pandering because the law enforcement folks here, we need more people on the streets patrolling traffic in particular. We need more law enforcement, and you can have opinions on the other side all day, and I understand that, but we need more resources in this state being put toward law enforcement because people are driving the way they're driving because there aren't repercussions to it. And until we get to a point where we're urging our state legislators to put more of a resources toward law enforcement, toward infrastructure, and make painful decisions on the other side of that, you're not going to see change. But in the meantime, one thing we can do is put in more speed controls.
Good evening again. Just some general information on how the CHP goes about as far as logging traffic complaints. And what I'm hearing is obviously a lot of concerned citizens regarding speed. And I myself am a father of 3. And regarding the speed limits, for example, in Salinas, most of the city schools within the jurisdiction of Salinas have reduced their speed limits from 25 to 15 miles per hour. And this has happened within this last school year. And I myself have patrolled within the city of Salinas, specifically my kids' own school, because it is a high concern. People driving speed limit higher than the school speed limit. But believe it or not, when I tell you that 9 times out of 10, the people that are speeding are the parents themselves that are dropping off their kids and are trying to get to an appointment or to their work. So as far as that concern or traffic complaints, what we do ask is that you call the non-emergency phone line for CHP and the information that we do ask of you is basically the location. We want to make sure that it is in an area specific to the agency. For example, if you're within the city, an incorporated city, then we ask that you call that particular agency. If you're in an unincorporated area like the town of Aromas, then CHP does handle traffic issues, and so we are going to ask the location where this specific complaint is you want to be addressed. We take that information. We want the times of the day so we could log it into our complaint system, and we do have specific officers that are assigned to work complaints, and so we try to make a presence in the area when the violations are actually occurring, because we want people to know that we are out here as well and taking appropriate enforcement action, whether it's citing speeders or people not paying attention to the crosswalks while parents are dropping off their kids. Unfortunately, for me, it has happened where kids have gotten ran over, minor injuries, but I've had to do follow-up, extensive follow-up, and I have successfully came across the people who were driving at the time, and through witness statements and license plates, which allows us to do further follow-up and charging people for fleeing also from the scene of an accident. But location and time of day, and then appropriate jurisdictional agency that handles the traffic in that area. That's what we do ask. And not only can you do it over the phone, but you can do it through the website as well. And obviously, the more complaints we get, we try to send as much enforcement as possible to these particular areas. Thank you.
Yeah, with that too, we are hiring supervisors.
My name is Jane Mercadal, there you go, and I live on Cole Road. We are getting a road repaired finally, which is awesome, but we have great concern, those of us who live on the road, about the speed also, because it is used as a thoroughfare when 101 is backed up, and on Fridays it's particularly dangerous out there, and even with the severe potholes and damage that the road has right now, people still are flying. They're just going so fast. So once the road is in good repair, we can only imagine what will happen. There is a 35-mile-an-hour sign posted, but I think that we're going to need something more than a sign. We're going to need multiple signs and maybe some kind of traffic slowdown mechanism. So what can we do about that?
Yeah, thank you for that. And I've certainly heard this and related to Public Works as we've gone through this process for this, and I appreciate your patience. On the delay, there was an unanticipated issue with an embankment that caused a pretty serious engineering redesign that had to happen. So I know it's been a long time coming. But thank you to the entire community and the Cole Road residents in particular. We're going to get this done, like I said, hopefully by Thanksgiving for the most part. I will put in another word and continue to urge for the speed controls, more signs. I think the signs is something we can definitely do, no problem. That's we can get that pretty quickly, getting just more. Because I agree, there just generally aren't enough speed signs in most of our rural areas, because I think we just haven't caught up with the fact with all the growth that we've had. Because in the old days, you knew the speed and everybody wasn't driving crazy like they are now. So I'll put in the request for more signs, put in a request for other mechanisms that are take lessons, like the studies that you have to go through. For generally some of these mechanisms, you do have to go through some level of study. But I think we can look at some of the lower level ones first while working toward potentially if we need speed bumps or whatever it might be at some point here. I'll continue advocating, keep calling, and keep emailing you throughout the process.
So we're really angry about at 7, which I don't want to wear a welcome here at the Grange. They always are very generous and letting us use the place here. Yeah, go right ahead.
I just wanted to point out that, first of all, thank you, Supervisor Church. We've been working quite well with his office, and I just want to let you guys know that when you do send something to his office, it's expedited to us, and we definitely get on top of it right away. So thank you. So I just want to make sure that you guys, your concerns going to his office are coming to us. and we are answering them. And a little bit more from my two fellow officers. I've been Aromas, I live in Aromas since '81. I have 3 sons, 2 of them are sheriff's office, so we are a little bit more vetted in this community. And I make sure that all my patrol deputies on the street know that this is a commander's area, not that we're not putting it out to the rest of the sheriff's office. So we are very heightened on what's going on out there.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming here. If you have some questions, please feel free to ask, fire, the CHP, the sheriff, public works, or any of us here. We'll be around here as we mull about and head out. So thank you again for coming here today.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you as well. Keep calling, keep emailing me. My job is to represent everyday residents of San Benito County. I'll keep doing that. Thank you.
And adding on to that, I want to say, please, if you guys see something, say something, email us. There's all 3 of us have our cards up there. Emailing us about any issue helps us out to address them.